welcome back. I'm carrying on with the keg builds. We've got the elements in now, so now it's time to start putting the fittings in. What I've decided to use is 15mm compression fittings because they're relatively cheap. Obviously want to do everything that I can on a budget. So I've got plenty of fittings, PTFE tape, I've made some silicone washers from a silicone sheet like most people seem to, and hopefully we can get it all put together without any leaks. That's the plan, but I'm sure there's going to be plenty of leaks. Right then, I've got some pipe fittings, plenty of PTFE tape for all the ports, I suppose, that are on the kegs. What I went for was this type of fitting for a lot of it. I'm going to use a stainless steel washer on the back there, and then I've cut some silicone sheet that I got off eBay. I think it's about £3 or something like that for about 200mm square piece. It's 2mm thick. Cut a hole in that, pop that on there, and hopefully that will create enough seal with lashings of PTFE tape. So they're the main fitting I'm going to use. They're a 15mm compression fitting onto a 1/2 inch BSP thread. It's got a small flange on there. I'm going to use these for the Holmes coil because a lot of you guys, the way you're connecting your Holmes coils, you're tending to have the coil going round and then it goes straight to the edge of the keg. What I thought is, because the Holmes coil goes round in a circle, if I was to put that through the keg wall and then one end of the Holmes coil goes in this side and then the corresponding side at the bottom goes the other way, it may work, it may not. Just a different idea, I suppose. Hopefully it will, but only time will tell. So also, I haven't actually got my ball valve tap yet. I did buy this particularly crap one off of eBay, come from China. It is rubbish. It's not going to work the right way. The hole in the middle, hopefully you can see there, is really small, so it's going to be a right slow flow on there. And the way I was going to work it, the handle connects on the wrong side, so it's not going to be any good to me. So we'll get rid of that, but today I might use it just to prove that I've got no leaks. So I've got some straight compression fittings, as I said, 15mm. Got a couple of running nipples, that's just 1 inch long, I think. I've got another one that's 2 inches long, and I've got some 1/2 inch BSP flange nuts. I mean, these are ideal on the back because there's a nice big flange there for the seal, but unless I'm going to use lots of these, the nipples, there's not going to be enough thread really to put one of these each side. So I'm hoping they are going to work with this type of fitting. For the kind of quick release type stuff I'm using, I looked around, I couldn't really justify spending sort of £5 or £6 per fitting. So I managed to find this. Homebrew Chris used them on his keg build, and new to Homebrew Tom also. So I managed to get there. They're from the horticulture suppliers. They're relatively cheap. 1/2 inch BSP, male, females. So lashings of PTFE tape, and hopefully they will work well. I've got a massive load of them with new seals as well, because I'm not sure whether they were going to go out of stock because they was on a really good price. So don't know whether you can see that, but that's what the parts are. They're just some rubber seals. So they worked out to be the cheapest. Another thing that I've found, we obviously need to cut a hole into the centre of these. So as I dismantled the kegs, I kept everything I had. Now that's the spear that sat in the middle. So what I've done is got the angle grinder and I've just put a chamfer on the edge of that, which has effectively just made that sharp. And then I'm just using it as a punch. With the sort of preformed silicone washer on there. There, find the centre, put that together, and then I just hit the top with a hammer. I'll show you very quickly. Place that in the middle. What I have been doing is dropping the washer on there, just so I can see the centre a little easier. Putting that on there, short sharp tap, and then we create the hole for the washer. Just a little bit easier than using a pair of scissors. Okay, what I've done is wrapped, there's about 12 turns of PTFE tape on there. There's the washer. There's two sides of the washer, one's got sort of rounded edges and one not sharp but square edges. So I put the rounded edges outermost. With all that PTFE tape on, you may notice there's a little tiny gap there. So I'm hoping that will seal that washer against there to stop water egress through there. Then with all that PTFE tape, hopefully it won't travel down the thread. And then there's our washer that I've made. Just drop that on there. And that spear, the amount it cuts out of here, if you grind it on the outside edge, just makes that washer snug. So he sits on there like that. So I'll put this from the inside of the keg with my Gecko sort of style fitting on the outside. On these fittings, the female ones, you have a little black washer that sits inside. Now it's quite thin, so I've taken that out because the amount of thread that we've got left here, it isn't really a lot, and it certainly doesn't go down to the bottom of that fitting. So the washer's just going to float around in there, potentially come out at some point, harbour bacteria maybe. So I've just got rid of that because there don't seem to be a lot of point in putting it in. I've already done this top one, which will be for filling the HLT. This is the HLT. Hopefully you can see in there. As I've mentioned before, it's got a smaller hole in the top. I fit the two elements now. So the Gecko style fitting goes on the outside. This is for our Hermes coil. So I take that to the inside. So as you can see, there's not a great deal of thread that comes out. Let me tighten that one on. I'm not putting a washer on the outside, so I don't think you need it, because there should be enough on the edge of this fitting to take it. I'm only doing them hand tight because we don't want to distort the washer too much. And as yet I haven't got the pipe to make the Hermes coil. That seems quite tight, but Only time I tell when we stick some water in it. That's these 15mm pipe connectors that I've gone for, and this being the 1/2 inch BSP thread, which is the same on the compression side. I understand there's no regulation for that to be the same, but that seems to be just what they put on. The Hermes coil is going to be a 10mm pipe or tube. The reason being, I can't seem to find any coiled 15mm, and as we're going to be putting the wort from the mash tun through the Hermes coil just to keep the temperature up if needs be, being a smaller diameter coil or smaller lumen, it should transfer heat relatively quickly as it goes round. And for that purpose I've got this, which is a 15mm 15mm to 10mm reducer. I'm not a plumber, I've never used these things before, but they appears to drop in there. So we take the olive out and then we just put the nut back on the top, and then I'm presuming as that squeezes down, that will squeeze down onto the 10mm pipe to create the seal. Just as a point of interest, when you're putting the PTFE tape on, if you put it on in the direction you're going to put the nut on the top, so as you're going to tighten it down, if you put that on the same, so it's going sort of clockwise as you're looking at this end, then the PTFE tape won't pucker up as you're putting the thread, screwing the nut on. So there's 3 on the outside now, these 2 for the Hermes and this one for the fill. And what we may do is make it so as you fill the HLT, it swirls the liquor inside, and that way I could potentially recirculate it through a pump to make it swirl for temperature control and stuff. I don't know whether we can see the fittings very well. There we go, there's the fittings on the inside. Hopefully you can see 3 of them there. So we've got another 2 to fit down the bottom. We've got one here for our tap, and then the one this side will be for the sight glass. For the sight glass I'm using another 15mm 90° elbow again. That's going to go through. Instead we're going to put it from the outside with a flanged nut on the inside, and then I've got to buy an acrylic type tube, 15mm, to go up to the top, but we'll fit that in a bit. I mentioned earlier about how I cut the washers. What I do is use the washer that the stainless steel washer, which is that one, put that, clamp that between them 2 like that, with another washer over the top just because of the hole in the middle. I just use a really small G clamp. Then you get a sharp craft knife. This one's got a number 15 scalpel blade, and then just trace around the washer just like that, being careful because obviously with the scalpel it's a little bit on the sharp side. If you cut yourself, it is going to cut. Not putting any pressure on the blade really, just cut it through. I'm not very good with a pair of scissors. So there we go. So our silicone washer is between there and there. That's one made. So this time I've done exactly the same. We've put in the PTFE tape around the thread. This time the fitting is going to go on the outside and it's going to go upwards, but the sight glass will eventually go in there. And I'm using the flange nut on the inside with the washer we just made. So that will go through the keg, put the washer on the outside, and then use the flange nut to tighten it up. What my thought is, this sits on the outside, hopefully does never get wet. On the inside, the flange nut, it will stop water going between this surface and the keg, and the PTFE tape stops the water travelling down the threads. I think that's the theory. Let's just hope it works in practice. It's a little bit more tricky putting the washer on from the inside. Just want to make sure it's all squeezed right up to the keg so I don't pinch it with the threads. Make sure the flange nut's not cross-threaded. All looks pretty good on the inside. Feels tight against there from the outside. So hopefully that'll fit. If we can get the camera on the inside there. There you go, you should just see it down the bottom. That's what he looks like from the inside.